Today's episode and tomorrow's episode are both going to be focusing on the most common errors that both genders make. Now, this is an episode I want to focus on because I particularly remember doing a swimming lesson years ago. And the instructor was saying, here's the errors that the guys make, which are very common. And these girls make the opposite mistake. And when I stopped and I thought about it, I went, okay, guys, when they do striking, they have some very common errors at beginner intermediate level, which many people make. A lot of times girls don't make those same mistakes, but they have their own set of errors, which are very common. So today will be the guys, and tomorrow will be the ladies. Five errors, guys. 5 common things that dudes are just making because we move a little differently than females. Females are a little bit more fluid than us, more graceful, and because of that, many of them can just come in, pick their leg up, and just float it up on the first day because maybe they've done gymnastics or a dance, or they have a different muscle structure than us. But they also have errors, which we'll be talking about tomorrow. But for today, let's focus on what these guys, what we are usually doing wrong. And keep in mind, this is not everybody out there. This is just something that I see time and time again after working probably with thousands of people, between teaching seminars, teaching when I was younger, having people come in for privates, seeing guys on the YouTube channel send me footage. It's just over and over, common errors. Now the first one is people, or guys in particular, taking their hand and pulling it back to gain more power. Now, why is this so common? Well, it's very simple. Guys hit harder than girls. Recognize that. They want to utilize that raw power, that power which we have. And when we start wanting to load up, we think, I'm going to pull my hand way back and get that power. We might not start like that. We might start proper, but then as we start getting into the combo, the arms widen out and they start lowering. And sure, it feels like we're hitting really hard, but the reality is, punches are slower because there's more distance to cover, and we're so open to counter shots. It's not even funny. We have to stay tight. We have to stay very, very precise in keeping that hand tight to the head so that we can get those fast combos, but also not get countered. If you want to make sure this is staying on point, it's very simple. Maybe not simple, but a simple way to train, which takes a while. But anyway, that is, put the hands to the head. Every time you punch, make sure one hand is against your head. If you ever start going like this, and you go, oh, there's no contact against my temple or cheek or jaw, whatever you choose, you should recognize it instantly. I constantly pull my hands back just above my eyebrow line. If I don't feel contact as I'm throwing, I go, uh-oh, that was a mistake, that was something wrong. I left the ability for my opponent to counter me. So whenever you do your drilling, bag work, pad work, sparring, shadow boxing, whatever else, make sure the hands are touching the head every time just to get rid of that bad habit which most guys have. Next, let's move on to our second point, and that is when we're throwing a round kick. Now there's something that girls have a lot of success with. When they lift their round kick up, they remember the shoulder that matches the lead hip stay together. They move their body as one, whereas a lot of guys go like this. They go opposite directions, and that doesn't work. If this hip is going forward, this shoulder has to match it. Everything is fluid. Everything moves in sequence. When we do that, we make sure that all our power is following through instead of hindering that power by pulling back with the opposite shoulder. Feels terrible. I feel like my whole spine is just going to snap if I go any harder. But that's what we want to avoid. Think, turn the body together. And if you're really stuck on this motion, just grab something, grab the wall, and just go, everything moves together, maintain balance. Everything moves. This front arm can swing down, but we need to make sure that this shoulder is directly in front of the other one, which takes the rear. The next very common mistake, which is similar to people pulling their hands back because they're trying to get extra power, is people being very rigid in the shoulders. I can't tell you how many times I've seen these fit, super strong looking guys come in who should be able to lift so much weight, and they burn down so fast through those big massive shoulders. Now yes, they're carrying more muscle, but if they learn to relax it and let their shoulders go a little bit looser, they won't fade the same way. But when you go and I can see those shoulders flexing the whole time, it's going to fatigue you. And then you're going to start getting, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, and start pulling for power because you don't have that speed anymore. So try to keep the tension in your body when you're moving around pretty much restricted to maybe a little bit of glute action and the stomach to protect yourself. Chin stays tucked so the neck's a little flexed. Aside from that, everything can stay relatively loose until we need to explode or defend. Now, something else that girls are very good at, but guys don't seem to have a lot of success with early on, is girls will find targets. And they'll find targets and be successful with it by touching and touching and touching and then throwing a power shot. But guys, power, 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 power. We want to hit hard. We're good at hitting hard, but that doesn't mean we need to do it all the time. What I want everybody to try and do in your next session is think maybe a third of the shots are touch. They're just touch, and then bang, bang, and then back to touch, and then maybe boom, 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 touch, and play around with different power tempos. Not everything needs to be full power. The light ones are creating openings so that when you do throw your power shot, it has more likelihood of actually finding a target and landing and doing something, aside from just throwing and exhausting yourself to just maybe hit forearms constantly. Final thing, the final mistake that I see very often, which I want to talk about, is again power oriented, but it's dealing with the front kick. Very often guys want to knock people backwards with front kicks. And what they do, if there's no target there, is essentially this. They fall forward. And they're kicking through the target so much that this foot that they're standing on has no ability to support them because their head comes in front of their standing leg. Once we've done that, once my head's here, I'm falling forward, unless I have something to bounce off. But what if the guy moves backwards? What if he scoops your kick? What if you misjudge the distance? There's so many ifs, and there's so many reasons for us to keep our head directly over our foot and not commit too much weight. Common mistake, as soon as people start ramping up the power, start by thinking control. Head stays above the foot. Head stays above the foot. I don't need to move somebody to hurt them with a front kick. I need to snap through about 3 inches with the ball of my foot into their stomach, bang, and they'll go down or they'll get hurt. That's all we need. It doesn't need to be and knock them backwards. Knocking me backwards with a flat foot doesn't do anything. It just moves me, but it won't actually create any damage. Taking a small area in the ball of the foot and going bang, bang, hurts so much more than push, push. When guys can get down these 5 tips, they can start moving past the beginner sort of intermediate stage and then start moving up to far more advanced. But as you continue to train and make these mistakes, you're never going to move beyond. You have to pull back from everything I mentioned today and make sure these common errors are not occurring in your overall fight game. And guys, remember, even though this channel is primarily guys love fight sports. I don't know what the ratio is, if it's 90 or 95% now. In the past, it was like 92. But we're still doing a video tomorrow for girls because there are lots of females out there who want to improve. And basically the mistakes I said today, they're not making them, but they have their own set of errors. So we will have that prioritized for tomorrow. If you enjoyed today's episode, guys, please give it a like if you haven't already. Join the channel and get subscribed. Train hard, guys. I'll see you back here soon for another video.